Why don't musicians ever get sunburn? Because they have plenty of shade. Welcome to our hilarious look into the day in the life of a musician. Now, we all know musicians are the life of the party, the Pied Pipers of fun, and, well, quite frankly, the masters of melody. But what does their day really look like? Is it all glitz, glamour, and guitar solos? Or are there some off-key moments that we're not privy to? In this video, we'll strum through the realities of a musician's life, the good, the bad, and the hilariously ugly. We'll explore everything, from the surprising facts that few know about, to the educational hurdles they have to leap, to the historical and cultural influences that have shaped their profession. So, let's tune in and take a whimsical, side-splitting journey into the crazy, funny, and sometimes downright bizarre world of musicians. Stick around, you won't want to miss a beat. Rise and shine, or should we say, rise and play. The life of a musician isn't all glitz and glamour, and it certainly doesn't start at high noon. It's a symphony of early morning routines, with the first note often struck before the sun even peeks over the horizon. Imagine the struggle of finding the perfect pitch before the first sip of coffee. Picture a violinist, eyes barely open, trying to coax a melody out of an instrument that's just as sleepy as they are. Or a pianist, fingers blurring over the keys, racing against the sunrise to master that tricky new composition. It's a world where alarm clocks don't buzz, they play concertos. And breakfast? Well, that's more of an intermission than a meal. It's a quick pit stop before diving back into the rhythm of practice, rehearsals, and more practice. So, next time you complain about your alarm clock, remember, it could be a trumpet. Practice makes perfect, or in a musician's case, practice makes you question your life choices. You see, the life of a musician is a beautiful symphony of repetition. We're like the human versions of a repeat track button, except with more coffee and occasional bouts of existential crisis. Imagine tackling a particularly tricky piece. You're sitting there, instrument in hand, staring at a sheet of music that might as well be written in an alien language. You play the first bar, stumble, start over, and then stumble again, and again, and again. It's a bit like running into a glass door repeatedly. It's hilarious, really, if you're not the one doing it. And then there's the metronome, that little device that's supposed to keep you in time. It's more like a tiny robotic overlord, relentlessly ticking away at your sanity. You try to keep up, to stay in perfect time, but it's always one tick ahead, mocking you with its unyielding rhythm. It's a race you're destined to lose, but you keep running anyway. And let's not forget about the practice-related incidents. There's nothing quite like hitting a high note and startling your cat into a frenzy, or playing a melancholic piece and making your dog howl in sympathy. Or better yet, practicing a fast-paced piece that sounds suspiciously like a chase scene, causing your goldfish to swim for its life. Then comes the moment when you finally nail that difficult piece after what feels like 1,000 tries. You're euphoric, triumphant, ready to take on the world. But then you look at the clock and realize you've been practicing for 5 hours straight and missed lunch, dinner, and possibly the next day's breakfast. But despite all the struggles, the endless repetition, and the occasional hunger pangs, there's something incredibly satisfying about mastering a piece of music. It's like solving a complex puzzle, decoding an intricate piece of art. It's a journey, filled with laughter, tears, and a lot of questionable noises. And that's how a musician's practice session can turn into a comedy show. Ever wondered what happens behind the scenes of a concert? It's not as glamorous as you think. Picture this. The curtain rises, the crowd roars, and the band takes the stage, ready to deliver a performance that's been weeks, maybe months in the making. It's an exhilarating moment, but let's rewind a bit and take a peek behind that curtain. First, there's the instrument fiasco. You see, a musician's instrument is like an extension of their soul, but even souls can have off days. There's the drummer who's lost a drumstick mid-performance, the guitarist whose strings snapped just as the solo kicks in, or the keyboardist who's accidentally hit the demo button, treating the audience to a delightful rendition of Yankee Doodle. Then, there's the lyrical labyrinth. You'd think with all the rehearsals, lyrics would be etched into memory, right? Well, think again. Even the best of us occasionally draw a blank. It's not uncommon for musicians to forget their lyrics on stage. But here's a secret. They have a trick up their sleeve, the artful mumble. When in doubt, mumble it out. It's a skill, really. And let's not forget the surprise guest appearances. No, not the kind that gets the crowd cheering. I'm talking about the random fly that decides to join the vocalist for a duet, or the unexpected downpour during an open-air concert that turns the stage into a slip and slide. But you know what? Despite the chaos, the show must go on. Musicians take these hiccups in stride, turning them into memorable moments, or at the very least, a good laugh. It's all part of the charm of live performances. So the next time you're at a concert, remember this. While you're enjoying the music, there's probably some wild antics happening behind the scenes. And trust me when I say, the chaos backstage is the real entertainment. Here's a fun fact. Not all musicians are singers, but all singers are musicians. Confused yet? Let's break it down. A musician is someone who plays a musical instrument, like the flutist who's on a first-name basis with every bird in the park, or the guitarist who's got more picks than a locksmith. Singers, on the other hand, use their vocal cords as their instrument. They're like human jukeboxes, just without the need for quarters. Now imagine calling a pianist a singer. It's like calling a chef a waiter. Sure, they both work in a restaurant, but their skills and roles are vastly different. And let's not even get started on drummers. A drummer being called a singer is like a cat being called a dog. They're both in the animal kingdom, but one clearly has a better rhythm. So, next time you call a drummer a singer, remember, they might just drum you out. Being a musician isn't always a walk in the park or a melody in the dark. Now let's dive into some of the hazards that musicians often encounter. And trust me, some are as unexpected as a rogue cymbal crash in a soft ballad. Firstly, let's talk about instrument-related injuries. Ever heard of guitarist's finger? It's not a cool rock star gesture, but rather a painful condition that can develop from repetitive strumming. And drummers, don't think you're off the hook. Drummer's elbow is a real thing too, and it's as fun as a drumstick to the eye. Then there's the risk of hearing damage. Musicians are constantly surrounded by high-volume sounds, and while it might sound like sweet symphony to us, it can be a real earbender over time. It's no surprise that Beethoven went deaf. He probably forgot his earplugs one too many times. Now, onto the stage hazards. Ever seen a musician trip over a rogue guitar cable? It's not just a funny blooper, but a genuine occupational hazard. And let's not forget about the dreaded microphone feedback. It's not only ear-piercing, but can also cause a musician to jump out of their skin. And that's not the kind of jump we want in a performance. And of course, there's the emotional toll. The constant need to create, perform, and please audiences can be exhausting. It's like being on a never-ending roller coaster ride, only with more high notes and fewer safety bars. Lastly, there's the hazard of mistaken identity. It's surprising how often musicians get mistaken for roadies, groupies, or even worse, the karaoke guy. It's all part of the job, but it can be quite a hit to the ego. So, from physical injuries to emotional exhaustion, and even mistaken identities, being a musician isn't as glamorous as it might seem. It's a path filled with surprising hazards, but it's also a journey of passion, creativity, and unique experiences. Because in the end, despite all the hazards, there's nothing quite like the thrill of creating and sharing music. Who knew making music could be such a hazard? But then again, without a bit of risk, would it even be rock and roll? Musicians do more than just hit notes. They hit hearts too. A musician's impact on society is as vast as the range of their instruments. They're not just entertainers, they're influencers, trendsetters, and sometimes even revolutionaries. They give a voice to the voiceless, and they can turn a simple melody into a powerful message. Take, for instance, the legendary Bob Dylan. Not only did he pen some groovy tunes, but he also became a spokesperson for civil rights and anti-war movements. Now that's what we call hitting the right chords. Also, let's not forget that musicians have a knack for making us feel seen and understood. Ever had a bad day, flipped on some tunes, and felt like the singer was narrating your life? That's because musicians are the ultimate empathizers. They take our feelings, amplify them, and send them back to us in a way that helps us process our emotions. It's like therapy, but with a beat. But it's not all deep and emotional. Musicians also have a strange power to make us do some pretty hilarious things. Ever tried to dance to a song in a language you don't understand? Or found yourself singing along to a tune you don't even like? That's the musician's magic at work, making us move and groove in ways we never thought we could. And let's not even get started on how musicians can turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. A simple road trip becomes an epic adventure with the right soundtrack. A quiet night-in turns into a one-person dance party with a catchy beat. Even a trip to the grocery store feels like a music video with the right tune in your ears. So, musicians not only provide the soundtrack to our lives, but they also shape our world in surprising ways. And while they may occasionally cause us to embarrass ourselves on the dance floor, we wouldn't have it any other way. After all, life without music would be flat, wouldn't it? As we strum our way to the end, let's hit a high note. We've tickled the ivories of humor, exploring the day in the life of a musician, a profession that's more than just guitars and glamour. We delved into the early morning wake-up calls and the relentless art of practice. Remember, a musician doesn't just play around, they work, and work hard. We navigated through the concert chaos where the unexpected becomes the norm. We also cleared the air, distinguishing between a musician and a singer. It's like comparing an orchestra conductor to a solo performer. Both are important, yet each has their unique set of skills and responsibilities. We discussed the hazards of being a musician. Who knew that a piano could be a dangerous workplace? And let's not forget the impact musicians have on society, from historical influences to present-day cultural contexts. They not only provide us with beautiful melodies, but also contribute significantly to our cultural fabric. Now let's talk turkey, or rather money. Yes, the earning potential in this profession can be music to your ears. While the starting notes might be a bit low, with experience and a growing fan base, the potential for a crescendo in income is quite high. Just remember, it's not just about talent, but also about perseverance, networking, and a dash of good luck. For specifics on salaries, check out the description below. As for growth and advancement, the sky's the limit. You can specialize in composition, conducting, music therapy, or even music journalism. The world of music is vast and diverse. So whether you're playing in Carnegie Hall or teaching in a local school, every note you play contributes to the symphony of life. Do you agree with our hilarious look into the life of a musician? Please comment below, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more entertaining insights. Remember, life without music would be flat.